Welcome back to Well. I'm your host, Laura Munkholm, and today we are talking about wellness and design, particularly luxury design. And we'll be speaking with a guest who I'm sure many of you have heard of, or if not heard of, you've probably stepped in the doors of a studio she's been a part of designing. Barbara Chancey is the founder of fitness specialty firm Barbara Chancey Design Group, and she's been creating award-winning fitness destinations from the ground up for almost 2 decades. She's been the visionary behind hundreds of independent startups and really has brought something to the surface that I think many of us take for granted, and that is creating a space that is welcoming, that encourages people to want to come back. We've got a lot of great questions we'll be diving into with her, and we're going to hear some of the secrets behind how she's made over 200 clients spanning the globe successful. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
Yes, you too. I'm excited to talk about design today and learn a lot about the businesses you've supported. I'd love to start with you. Tell us a little bit about how you landed in this wonderful world of the wellness and fitness industry.
Well, I can tell you, starting a business in an industry that doesn't exist, that's a challenge. So long before the iPhone, long before SoulCycle, long before you were born, and many of your listeners, I was banging on doors of Gold's Gym and LA Fitness, everyone just begging them, please let me put in a spinning studio. And they all laughed. And they said, that's ridiculous. Who would want to ride a bike in the dark going nowhere? And so then I went to the manufacturers and they go, oh, I'm so sorry. We're about fitness. We're not about interior design. So I kept doing what my heart said to do. And you wake up every morning and you have to do it. But the story starts, I guess, on the tennis court. Johnny G had just introduced spinning, 1989. We were all listening to Madonna, Material Girl, Duran Duran, and the tennis professionals at the time were using spinning bikes for cross training. Drop shots were sprints. And so if you went to the French Open, red clay, heavy resistance. Okay, so my tennis coach, South Florida, he said, hey, if you really want to be good, you need to find someone that's teaching a spinning class and improve your foot speed. So I found this dumpy little gym, and so they had 10 little bikes. You can imagine, we just pulled them out, the group fitness room, and it was time for spin class, right? But when I heard the music the very first time, I fell in love because I have a musical background, different story. So I started burning CDs. Remember those for the instructor? And so I kept bringing her. She had zero musicality. Well, one day she didn't show up. And the class of 12 said, stick a CD. How hard can it be? You've been in this class for a year. So I thought, okay, let me tell you one thing. It was terrifying. Being on the other side, totally terrifying. So we have huge respect for that. So after the class, the guy said, you're horrible. You're like the worst instructor ever. You need knowledge. You're insecure. You're scared because you don't have knowledge. So I packed my bag, went to Miami to the World Spinning Sports Conference. I got certified and I came back.
Oh my gosh.
And at that moment, I experienced the darkness, 500 bikes, the music, just the surreal that everyone experiences. And I went back to the gym owner who could care less. By the way, if you ever work for a boss who doesn't care, take advantage of it. And I said, I'll make a deal. I said, I'll make a deal with you. If you just give me this empty little room, all right, I'm not going to charge you a dime. Let me transform it to a proper studio. Now, remember, no one had heard of Flywheel or SoulCycle. Okay, let me create an environment where I can be an awesome instructor. All right, that's what I need. He said, I don't care what you do, but I'm not paying for anything. I said, no worries. After the gym closed, 11 to 2 a.m., my team, we got in with, drills and everything. We had donated paint. I mean, this was a production. It went on for 6 weeks. Grand opening, 12 bikes went to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. For 10 years, there was not an empty seat. So everything that I learned, I polished, I honed my skills, I practiced, I used speakers and lighting, everything. We did charity events, sent kids to Special Olympics, answer rides. People were driving an hour just to be there. So again, armed with this success, I started going back. Let me help. I went to the architects and they're like, boutiques are bad. That's ridiculous. Jim, no Jim would ever do that. I'm like, fine. So I started donating again, U.S. Army. Everything for 10 years, I was honing my skills. So by the time Soul finally opened, I had already helped 150 cycling studios
Oh my
on 6
gosh.
continents. So it became kind of like I'm like a drug dealer. I'm kind of like my phone, and people were just calling out of the blue. And I even bartered in Jamaica for Half Moon Resort for a 1-week vacation. I said, let me put in a spin studio. I got them certified, trained, etc. So fast forward again, the iPhone was just come out. GoDaddy websites.
Yep.
So I created my own website, put a few pictures of what I was doing. Out of the blue, I got a phone call. We're opening the first yoga and cycling studio in Dallas. And we found you. You're like the only person that gets this. Can you help us? I
Wow.
said, absolutely. So this is where the story gets interesting. I met the group and shared some great ideas. And one of the guys said, excuse me, is this a hobby or a business? And I paused. And he said, and by the way, did you design the website? Is that your logo? Because it's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Nothing looks like the person we had dinner with tonight. So here's the deal. Here's my business card. Make it a business, grow it up, and we'll do business. Call us.
God.
And at that moment, one person believed. He said,
Yes.
but I see what you're doing. You just need to make it better. So, I mean, I was like, one person believes, one person, that's all I need. So I went to the bank, got a loan. Fast forward 3 months later, I called them back. What do you think? And they said, awesome. We've changed our mind. I think we're going to get transferred, but that's who you should have been the day we met you. So the next day, I got a call. California, we're opening the very first cycling studio. Can you help us? One thing led to another. So when I share that story sometimes for clients, because when I push, I see something. The big boxes, nobody saw anything. So when I criticize, sometimes I always tell clients, I'm going to hit you hard. I'm going to peel away the layers. Is it a business? Is it a hobby? I don't care. But if it's a business, we're going to approach it differently. And I do have
Yes.
some clients where it is a hobby. So
Yeah.
not everyone wants to make money. Not everybody wants to. Everyone has a purpose. So that's kind of how the story began. And
Oh
fast
my gosh.
forward, as the industry now has caught up, we have on my team of experts. We do not advertise. We've never spent a penny on marketing. Interesting people just find us, and we work with people who want to inspire their little corner of the world. And we design through the eyes of instructors, because everything that I recommend, I've taught. And so our team, whether it's cage fighting, whether it's wellness, it doesn't matter. We go in and experience ourselves, and we understand, because you're only as good as your worst instructor's worst playlist. And if
Oh,
you're good, you can be in a cardboard box on a pogo stick and you can back it up.
oh, I love that. You're only as good as your worst instructor's worst playlist. I think we
Absolutely.
all need to take that one to heart. Well,
Yeah.
I love when you talk about how you design for the instructor. Like when we've had conversations before, you've mentioned how important it is to make sure that the instructor shines throughout the experience, because that's what people are coming for. Yes, the music, yes, some little things, but there's a connection there, especially in boutique fitness. And we want to feel like, as instructors, everybody understands and feels and gets what we're trying to put out there. And as consumers, we want to feel connected, like we're special, and that instructor sees us and we're really a part of it. So,
Oh, absolutely.
how do you take that into design?
Well, your instructors will be your competitors, because 90% of the calls I get, I'm teaching, I'm coaching, I'm a trainer. I'm already here and I don't like something, so I'm going to open my own. They already know
Interesting.
your weaknesses. They already have a crowd following. Wherever they go, they will go. And so, again, we really tap into the psychology, because for instructors, everyone is great when things work, but when they don't, that shows your professionalism. And we also hide weaknesses. So creativity is what's usually missing. So when we design studios, we put everything to make the instructor where they cannot open against you, because we provided everything for them. Thoughtful features, which our clients understand, because again, I've been there and I understand what it's like when things don't work, when you don't have your special. Think about this. Britney Spears, she doesn't go to the bathroom with her audience. Why do studios force their instructors almost to belittle them? So we put thoughtful features into everything to give those instructors creativity. So, for example, to wake up fresh every single class for 22 years, there's got to be more than just fitness. And when there's contradiction, there's division, and the contradiction comes. That's a good example of Soul Cycle and Flywheel. When there's contradiction, then they split up. So we try
Mhm.
to, when we start our studio concepts and design, and a studio could be anything for 25,000 square feet. A boutique is not the size, it's the mindset. And so it has nothing to do with the size. But when we create spaces for those instructors and give them tools for creativity, so they never roll over and say, I don't want to teach today. We give them tools, so I can't wait.
Right. What are some examples of that? Like, tell us.
Well, let's just say, for example, rowing.
Okay.
Rowing could be very, very boring. Let's just say it's one portion of a I don't know, a 4 modality. Say you've got a room with 4 pieces of equipment. So maybe you get to the rowing station and suddenly it's like, okay, here we are, here we are. But what would happen if all of a sudden you're coaching and say, hey, storms of life are coming. What are you going to do? You got to work hard when those storms come. You push a button. You don't pick up a tablet and scroll through. You push a hardware button. Thunder and lightning's coming out of the sea. Blow
Gosh.
turns into water. We're going to row together to get through the storms of life. Press another button, sunrise on the horizon. When you have the ability to create that sensory, those instructors can't wait. And
Interesting. Okay.
they all
Well,
go together.
when do people come to you? So is it typically like, hey, I've got this wild idea, help me bring it to life? Or is it usually businesses that are feeling like, oh gosh, we're struggling right now. How do we completely overhaul what we did and take this in a different direction? Or all of the above?
All of the above. I can tell you the most successful when I say that.
Mhm,
And I'm very, very proud. These are our children, right? I said, we're the
mhm,
balcony people. We just take great pride in watching them. But they're celebrating 9, 10, 11 years of success.
uh,
Rarely, occasionally leases will not be renewed and
uh,
sometimes they have to close. But 9 times out of 10, we give our clients the PhD in boutique fitness so they know more than their clients. All right.
uh,
And so in a perfect world, I'll just get an email out of the blue. I'd like to open, fill in the blank. And we help them with the financial aspect. We help them with the last thing you want is a location. We don't need that. We need a brand. We need language. We need to understand inspirational, competitive, rebellious. Think about a religion. We need to create your religion and then we develop a vessel to hold that. So in a church,
uh,
in a synagogue, it doesn't matter what it is, but we need to understand what are you doing because everyone can do this. Everyone can buy the equipment. Everyone's a great instructor. Everyone can do this. Why are you different? And so a lot of that starts off with the planning. Sometimes, for example, we've got studios that'll be opening in 2027 and have already signed with us. All right. So the first thing we want to understand is a brand, a name, a logo that you will not outgrow. And that's something architecturally that we can think about. This Burberry, the designer, it's owned
yeah,
by the Plaid. I don't want to see the logo. So
yeah,
we create assets so that you walk in the door and you feel that you're there rather than seeing this logo, which cheapens it. It's not about you, it's about me. The minute I walk in the door, it's my turn. Enough of you. So once we create the name, we try to make it original, we try to trademark it, and then suddenly we start creating test fits, 3D models that would support that. And I can give you examples later on. So during that process, then we come up with a test fit. We present a presentation guide. So landlords, we want to know about the team, everything you could imagine, industry data, a concept so that when you go to a landlord, you're buttoned up, ready to go. And they know this is not a hobby. It's business. And then also the landlords want to see the graphics for window wraps, etc. So a lot of times on the left-hand side, we're working all this. We're writing the website copy. We're evaluating your language. How can you use the same words as your competitor to describe how unique you are? Zero cliches. Elevate your language. Things that drive us nuts. Be the best version of yourself. I like myself. Why do I have to change? Or fitness for all. Well, what if I'm hearing impaired? What if I'm paraplegic? So we get rid of the cliches. We get rid of we're the best at, well, who voted? I did. We get rid of opinions. And so once we understand who you are, and then when we do find a location, we'll start working with the landlord and we'll help you look at the lease. And then those test fits. So by the time we're ready to sign, the client, window wraps go up, website launches, and then we're open. And so there's a lot of work on the back end that can take a year or two. We had one
oh
program in Montreal. They signed with us in 2016 and they just opened about 9 months ago.
my gosh.
The
Well, there's a little break in there that disturbed some of the
well,
industry.
Not really. It was a full set of plans delivered in 2016 because this was built from the ground up in the Unicortier, which is an electric solar village. And
Oh my
the
gosh.
development wanted us to avoid breaking concrete. We wanted the prime location. So, of course, and we're right next to a hotel, right on the electric train station. So we waited patiently. But during that time, it was built from the ground up. And it was
Wow.
Vibe Cycle there in Montreal. And so that's an example, though. We're in Abuja, Nigeria right now, and that one will probably open 2027. Everything is so that's a perfect world. Now, if somebody comes in and says, hey, can you help me? Can you refresh? Of course, we do that all day, every
Um,
day. As I said, a lot of the times it's the branding. If people are not wearing your t-shirt all over town, They don't like it. You might like it, but
Yeah.
they don't. It
That's a
it
really good point. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we fall in love with our own, concepts and designs, and sometimes it's easy to forget that we're not just trying to make us happy. We're trying to make a huge audience love us, fall in love with the experience, and love with the
absolutely.
brand. And I hear so many times more studios or clients say, well, I was my first client, or I'm my own best client. And I think that's true sometimes, but it's pretty rare that you can find, 500 members that are exactly you. How do you learn from clients, and how do you find what connects to your audience through design? Are there ways that yeah, dive into that?
Yeah, our clients teach us. I mean, I am so fortunate. As you said, I wake up every day and I just like, how can I serve you? I cannot wait to wake up and see
Mm,
needs help. But little examples, and and I won't get too sentimental, but
yeah,
for example, Beyond in Lagos, Nigeria, we understand that hair is very, very important in that
mm,
culture. And so we put in a braiding station so that after the class, complimentary, the women, their beautiful braids are
oh
maintained
my gosh.
and it's just like, why not? And then also the owner who is, I mean, these women are the champions. They are the true trailblazers of fitness. You'll never know their names, but they are changing cultures. And so to
Wow.
hire, 35 people to bring in these hairstylists to have a full-time attendant bar where hair is beautiful as part of the class. I mean, those
Wow.
are examples that we have. So thoughtful design based on who is using the space.
I love that. So, I mean, I have to throw it out there. When you're talking about all of this, it's expensive, right? Like so many of these ideas, I'm just like, oh my God, I can't imagine. So it's creating very luxury experiences almost because I imagine the design costs a lot of money. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are you able to make it accessible financially with doing all of these amazing things? Or is this just, well, no, you got to pay the price if you want this experience?
Well, a lot of times we just donate our services. We don't even charge half the time. I'm kind of like Uber, one flat fee, I'll get you there. But we like understanding who you're going to help with this. And the only thing you need to be successful, quite honestly, is hustle. And that's what most
Mhm.
people don't have. You don't need an education. You don't need money. You just need the willingness, as I did, to go knock on doors and to hustle. And so that's what we find most people just want to build something beautiful, put their sign, and then wait and wonder why nobody comes. And
Yeah.
so, as far as pricing and to answer your question, the things that cost the most are what you cannot see in a build out. All right. That's sound mitigation,
Mm,
electrical, plumbing. You'll never see those on the walls. Fresh air intake, and we learned that
right.
from Nigeria, especially during COVID. And so they've gone through Ebola and malaria. So fresh air was very important to that culture. And so that's a given. We've always thought of that ability to circulate quickly without humidity. And so those are the things a lot of people don't see value in. And so that's
Yeah.
where the expense is. You can always, as you said, if you're good, you can always find a way to improve later on. There's and then also it's your circle of influence. So when you want something so badly, you can't think of anything but that. You will do anything. You will
Yeah.
say, "Hey, just give me $5,000 and I'll give you unlimited for." And if you can't get three friends to give you $5,000 for the rest of their life, they're probably not going to come when you open. So that's a
Mm,
good litmus test we do as well. But there's typically a studio could range on the low. Let's just say it's whatever it is. It could be on the low end 300,000 and on the high end 3 million for the exact
yeah.
same studio. The exact same.
My
It
gosh.
depends on what you want. And so, lighting, sound, I've always observed in several blog posts on lighting. If you don't know why you need lighting, don't waste your money on it. Lighting
Interesting.
is not this, it cheapens it. Lighting is suddenly, it's for a purpose. And if you don't know what the purpose is with the lighting, so for example, it's maybe for one special song, press a button and it's beautiful sunrise and then it goes dark. And if you don't understand what your brand wants, then save your money. The worst thing you can do is, when someone goes to Pinterest and sends us pictures that have been, we don't put a lot of things out there. Most of the work that we do is private because clients pay us for creativity. So
Yeah,
if
you
they
don't want
want to
people
promote
copying
it,
it.
yeah, we just opened a new studio in Maui called Mint, MINT, just heartstrings. And it's very Bangladeshian, it's very Moroccanish, and so it's so much fun. Legree and Versa, and there's two locations, but it's very Hawaiian.
Oh, I'll
And
have to go. I
yeah,
spend a lot of time in Maui. We've got good friends
absolutely.
there.
And so because of that, they don't need a $2 million studio. It needs to blend in with the culture, but it's some of the
Right.
best instruction you'll ever see. And so
Wow.
a lot of it starts with the brand though, and that's where we invest in is the brand. You can always, things burn, things fall apart, but your brand is who you are, and that's what people remember you for.
Yeah. So I guess when we're talking about kind of the finances behind it, are there areas in studios where you say, this is where I see a lot of people waste money when it comes to design build outs? Are there areas where it's just like, you know what, save it? That's not going to be a really important piece, or does it totally depend on the brand?
Thinking about your question,
Hmm.
I believe wasting money on a cheap brand, I keep going back to that, a cheap brand that means nothing, that costs a lot of money for people who don't even take classes trying to tell you who it should be and what be. We see a lot of wasted energy on that. They're too far away
Okay.
from it to understand it going to. And I'm all about these New York branding companies. I mean, that's great. If you've got 30,000, go for it. But that doesn't mean everybody's going to like it. So wasting money on branding that doesn't apply to your, I guess, to your
Interesting.
heart.
Okay.
And then second of all, start small and too many bikes, too many mats, too many bags, too many. And that's usually by people who are looking at numbers rather than people. And
Yeah.
so, we see that a lot. I want a whatever, 50, 60, and we're just thinking egress, fire, ADA. I mean, that's a whole different category. Start small and strong, and you can always expand. And so sometimes even we have some groups that use secondhand equipment. There's nothing wrong with secondhand equipment. So, but as I said, the things that you get one shot on goal, and that is sound, it must be flawless, especially with Pilates, Legree, anything that is very, very specific to direction. We don't cut corners when it comes to sound. And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people drop their membership. And I go back to, it's not they don't believe in fitness anymore. It's too difficult. I can't see, I can't hear, the light comes through, everything is wrong. But it was
Hmm.
designed by someone who doesn't teach, doesn't take classes, but can tell you how to run a business. So
Yeah.
as I said, we start small, we start simple, and if you're willing to roll up your sleeves, I mean, we're in there with you. So we've been on our hands and knees before, and I've clean bathrooms and for grand opening. I mean, we help. So, and that's the fun of it is it's a family.
That's so great. Well, it's interesting that you say sound, invest in sound. That's such a critical part. We actually, when we were designing in Walla, our, pick a spot, so like select your spot in the classroom, we talked to a lot of clients about what they'd want in their layouts. And we had people say, okay, we want to be able to put the speakers as, and like where the door is, where the windows are. And so we added all of that. And the feedback we got often was, well, we have to put where the speaker is because some people don't like it to be loud. And I immediately thought, wow, think about if there's only one speaker in a room. The people in the back don't hear. The people that are by it, it's too loud. I almost want to be like, guys, rethink your
Well,
sound.
the first thing when we were designing, and again, we work with experts who've known our team for years. We just pick up the phone and we make calls. And so
Mm.
typically, once we get the floor plan, let's just say approved, then the next layer is electrical, the next layer. So we don't build it and then put speakers up. And so when it's designed flawlessly, there is equal sound. And it's not this noise that people
Hmm.
are irritated with, and the vocal quality is very, very important. And so typically people do it backwards. They build it and then think about sound later versus that's the first step, especially if you have anything residential above you. We did a program in Atlanta and the mayor was above the instructor. And so can't hear a
Wow.
thing. But when it's seamless sound, it's well thought out. This is not an afterthought.
Yep. Yep.
And because of that, you don't have the hot spots.
Yeah, I mean, it just came to mind because last year, a couple of years ago, released the Pick a Spot, and it was interesting to get that feedback. I was chatting with some moms at a girls' coffee hangout a few weeks back, and one of them was mentioning to me, gosh, I feel like I'm the only one here that hasn't been to a P-Volve class, or I'm the only one who hasn't been to this class, and I feel like I'm not part of the cool kids club anymore. And I was curious what your thoughts are because boutique fitness in particular has turned into this whole experience. Do you find that it's kind of moving into this realm of rather than just self-care and I want to do this for me, but status symbol or, like what people have to do to fit in? And is that a good thing?
Again, we have a global view. And so
Mm.
luxury in one country means something different, luxury in another. And I see luxury as space, not
Yeah.
status. The beautiful people come and go, and they will go anywhere, whatever's popular. They're constantly moving. But when you've got a solid studio that represents a multi-generational from Fort 90, and that's a range, then it's healthy and it will not fade. But the temporary, everybody flight, it's like a new restaurant, everybody goes. And so
Yeah.
what we approach things is that we design for all phases of life and we design for the next big thing. So remember, your instructors are who they're following. And so why not have a space where that new hot instructor can come to you rather than open against you? And so that's part of the thoughtful design. We design for the next 10 years. And as far as that luxury and self-care and the perception of what a boutique is, I think that's just short-term marketing and very limited knowledge in different parts of the world, different cities, different states. It's not a status symbol. We
Yeah.
don't see it that way, but it is what you don't want to do is make it a playhouse where everyone is your age. And that cannot sustain that for a while. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
That's really where I was going with it is how do you avoid that? Or how do you make something timeless? And when you say we design for the future or for the next 10 years, what are you thinking about? What questions are you asking yourself and your clients to be forward thinking?
Well, when we travel sometimes for grand opening, we do this team building workshop. It's so much fun. We have a good time. And I always bring my little bag of Oreos. It's been all over the world. It's fascinating. Every country knows what Oreos are. But I always say your class, your studio, your brand is like Oreo cookies. In 1910, the very first Oreo was launched. 100, they're new, right? Think about a studio, they're new. 100 years later, they improve. They continue improving. Now there's double stuff, and now they're not even chocolate cookies anymore. If you go down the Oreo line at the market, they're small, they're large, everything, but it's the same recipe. New,
Hmm.
improved, improving. So your class, is it going to be the same cookie or are you going to improve it? How? It's not by adding crazy new, my signature ride, my signature class, my new equipment. They're always desperate to make it better when the reality is keep what you have and make your studio better. The
Mm.
ability to bring in, I go back to the creativity again, because that's what people talk about. All right. They go tell their friends, wow, did you know this saxophone player came in or this high school drum corps?
That's amazing.
And you've got acoustic guitar or whatever it is, or there's something happened in the class or during the class or part of that experience. And that's what people tell their friends.
Yeah.
Value is getting more than you expected. Value is learning something new. And, we have some studios who, again, it goes back to hustle again. How hard is it to think about a dinner party at your home? You want to have dinner parties for the next 20 years. Is it just your friends from your high school or your sorority? No. As they grow older and they get married, they have children, they age, and then suddenly they have health issues. So that is the family approach of designing a studio that accommodates all phases of life. And to do that, again, there's an enormous amount of thought. You don't just wake up and say, oh, I'm going to open it up in
Yeah.
60 days. So to share that, I go back to the concept of how do you constantly improve it? And that again is the ability to have this creative. Here's an example. Tight. That is a Legree studio. I named it Tight. I just love naming these. So
That's
much fun
awesome.
to get into. I mean, that's the ultimate name for a
I think is
studio.
that in Texas?
Yes. And so
Yes.
it's
Okay.
right across from SMU University. And so I noticed there's not a single class observation at nighttime for the nurses who get off. Sororities, and this is again SMU University, it's up in the upper level. And I thought, get tight at night. Why don't we start doing midnight classes? Why not? And so we put in this beautiful recessed reflective view lighting. That's a whole nother conversation. So not everyone can hear the word slow, slow, slow. Sometimes you have to see slow because we're visual learners. So the ability to just
Ah,
have this glacial movement to replicate slow is so much easier than instructors who just
yeah.
slow, slow, slow. If I hear slow one more time, like it just means nothing. It's just word salad. So we try to create the ability for the instructor to have those tools. And so
Wow.
get tight at night, fast days, slow nights. All right. That's a t-shirt. And so
Wow.
because of that, Turn in Atlanta, we named it Turn. That was a gorgeous, phenomenal two-level studio. Sadly, they lost their lease, but Turn heads for the right reason. Turn is part of the word nocturnal. So 4 times a year when the seasons turn, the bikes, the kettlebells, the yoga mats on top of the Spanx building, wherever, go out for charity at midnight under the stars, the nocturnal. So
Oh, I
when
love
you
it.
have a brand that grows with you, you see where I'm going,
Yeah.
suddenly it's not just a playhouse for my friends who look like me, talk like me, act like me. It's a family giving back. And
Oh,
so that's just one of many, many examples of how
I
the
love that.
brand starts understanding how will that live with you for the rest of your life.
I love that. And it's actually, I mean, I don't know if controversial is the word, but it's so often you hear, who's your avatar? Who's your exact client that you want to walk in your door? And so everybody describes the, probably millennial mom who has extra income or, hardworking, maybe not entrepreneurial, but working millennial mom. But really, you're talking about forget that one individual. We are looking at how we span ages and make this timeless so that people can have a great experience across the board. I would love to hear for you if there was one piece of advice you would give studio owners today in today's landscape of boutique fitness. What would it be? If you were standing in front of an audience of 10,000 boutique fitness owners, what's the message you want them to hear?
Experience in one thing does not mean experience in another. All right.
Mm.
So just because you can manage a Wharton School of Business and you've done this, just because you're an instructor doesn't mean you've done this. And so sometimes here's my resume. Look what I've done. That doesn't mean that you understand how to hustle and how to have a circle of influence in the grassroots marketing. And then also time is your best friend. And so take a breath. Be in a hurry. When you get a red stop sign, that's a blessing. That's a pause because there's something better right around the corner. And so understand, if everyone can do what you're doing, why will you succeed when they fail? Everyone, again, can get the equipment. And so the 5 words your brand will never say, that needs to be known up front before you even think about opening
Oh,
a studio.
all right. That's a good one. The 5 words your brand will never say.
And that's when there's contradiction, and that's where there's confusion. And that's when people call me and say, I'm opening because. And so we really, as I said, we peel back the layers to understand, is it a hobby or is it a business?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a business, we have to really, really think about it and understand it. You don't just wake up one day and decide you're going to do that. It might sustain you for a little while, but we
Yeah.
design for the long term. We design where you live, die in the studio, and it's not just something you do part time.
Yeah, I love it. Gosh, well, thank you so, so much. There were just so many incredible nuggets of wisdom and everything you said today and all of your experience working with so many different brands. It's clear to see why these businesses have been so successful. And if anybody listening to the podcast wanted to find you or wanted to work with you, how do they do that? And what's the best way to get started with Barbara Chancey Design Group?
Very simple. You just find the website, barbarachanceydesign.com, drop an info, and within 24 hours, you will get a response. And then that's where the conversation starts, and we'll roll up our sleeves and find a way to make it work. Our greatest success is your success, and that's why we wake up every day. We have to do this. It's not an option. We have to.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for the work you do. You are changing not only business owner lives, but the lives of all of the people that walk in their businesses. So appreciate all of that. And thank you everyone for listening today. We'll see you next time on Well, Well, Well.